All right, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 70. We are recapping the World Series that was here on Mound Visit. It's been an awesome season, and we're ready to get into it on today's episode. We hope you enjoy.
Right? Wow.
I mean, it's been a crazy baseball season, and it was kind of a fitting ending. It was a crazy game. Before we get into it, we want to remind you guys, thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you for tuning in. I'm Casey Honigbaum, joined as always by the 15-year Major League vet, former All-Star, the closer, Jason GrillI, along with me as he is every week. And this show is a part of the Believe Podcast Network. Every team, every topic, everywhere. You can watch the show for free if you want to subscribe on YouTube. We'd love for you to do that. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And you can also listen to it wherever you get your podcast through that Believe Podcast Network. Go ahead and give the show a follow, rate, review, share the show. It really helps us out. And also, this show wouldn't be possible without our friends over at Sweet Hand Sports. The fine fellows down, the Yinzers down there in Pittsburgh, providing batting gloves, golf gloves, hats, whatever you need. They're a local Pittsburgh product, and we love having them as a part of the show. Use code MoundVisit10 to get 10% off your first purchase today. Oh, man. The World Series has come and gone.
God bless. I know we got through all the tech stuff and the roll call, house cleaning, whatever you call the introduction.
We always do.
And thank you. Thank you. You do a great job at that. But hard to bite my tongue with all that was last night.
Oh.
All that was all week, and even leading up to it, all the series. We've touched upon some of it, but
yeah,
you know, I feel I was rooting for the Yankees because I have our friend of the show, Mark Del Piano, who was a big time scout with the Yankees.
Yeah.
You know, you show your allegiance. You want people to do well. Freddie Freeman, man. What a showcase.
Former teammate of yours, yeah.
But, man, you know, you just like seeing stuff that you've never seen before. And I just got to feel, and it's probably been said a million times, just like we're hearing all these crazy ads leading up to this big day we're supposed to have. It's like you kind of get sick of listening to all these shows and everybody talking about the same thing.
Sure.
But our angle is, man, that Tyson uppercut to the groin, I'm going to say to the groin, watching that Yankees inning, they gave it away.
Oh.
They gave it away. There's no other way you can say that, is that you can't expect to make that many mistakes against a very, very good team. And, you know, again, no disrespect, both teams very deserving. The two Titans, obviously, playing against each other. It's Rob Manfred's
his dream right there.
Big dream right there. We're going to keep it clean and PG this round because, you know, grandma might be watching, mom might be watching, kids at home. But listen, it like I said, I just can't believe, or I can believe, because what people may not, and this is where the angle that I would say, the pressure, I don't care how good or how much you think you got under control, when you have that level of stress.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers knew that they just had to keep pushing, and the wind in their sails was going pretty damn good. And the Yankees' backs were against the wall. And then they were swinging hard, and they were punching back. And you thought for a moment that I said, you know, it was going to go to 6 games. Congratulations, you said 5. You did.
I did. I got that part right. Sure.
You got that part right. So I don't know if there's no door prizes or money on the line for that. You should have maybe wagered with me here, but I can't say enough, dude. Right? I mean,
it's one of that inning, that 5th inning, of Game 5 is, you know, you could look at it for, if you're not a fan of the Yankees, it's one of the craziest innings that's ever happened in a baseball game that I've ever seen. And I think if you're a fan of the Yankees, That's got to be the worst inning in franchise history. Because not only because of everything that happened, but because of
what's at stake.
What's at stake, and the fact that it happened in the World Series. I think that you made a great point, and I was going to ask you this, so I'm glad that you brought it up. The fact that the Yankees gave this game away, I totally agree. But I also think
they beat themselves. They beat themselves.
Yes, 100%. But I also think a little bit of respect has to be given to the Dodgers in that scenario as well, because it takes a really good team to break through. Because as the Yankees, when you leave the door open like that for a team, not every team is going to necessarily take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And I think that there were multiple instances, even in this game, when the Dodgers, the Yankees, when they went up 3-0 in the first inning, Jazz left the bases loaded early in the game too. There were a couple instances that the Yankees could have continued to pile on, and they didn't. And I think that, for the Dodgers, they never wavered. And you saw it in that fifth inning, and they were just waiting for the door to crack open, and they kicked it all the way in.
Said it repeatedly, and Freddie had a lot of deserving FaceTime and mic time. And he says the love from the top of the organization to the guys on the team chemistry, all the stuff that just was felt there.
Absolutely.
When you feel that level of success or breed that culture that people call team chemistry, and you have the backing of an owner that wants to win, you have the players who are willing to do whatever it takes. I'll give Ohtani credit for not being selfish, just even how they deferred, that much money.
Sure.
Wanted to win. That just shows you.
Even Ohtani being out there, I know he was not 100%.
No,
but just
we didn't see the best
there.
version. The best version. Not. It was just, hey man, I want to be in this. I'm fighting.
Yeah.
I'm going down swinging with you, no matter what. It just showed. Even Freddie, there's
absolutely
this time that luckily he had to heal, and he was still out there for his team and wanted to be and go, man, I'm 60, 70%. I'm giving you 100% of my 60 or less. I don't know. It just there was just so much that you could say on both sides of this to analyze. Like I would even go back to, do you leave Garrett Cole in? Do you let him go finish that inning? Like, there's things that you sit there and if you wanted to play that little chop it up,
sure,
and go, people are like, why did they do this and why did they do that? There's feel. There's different feel when you're on the couch. Mm-hmm. There's different feel when you're in the stadium. There's way more different feel.
Yeah.
When your nails are in the dirt.
Oh God. Yeah. You brought up a great point, and I think bringing up Freddie Freeman's quote, because that was not to cut you off, but I think that was such an important thing to talk about, because he kind of said it, but I think this win was as true of an organizational. I mean, obviously every time you win the World Series, it's an organizational success, but this one in particular, because we all know at this point how good of an organization the Dodgers are. But I think a lot of us baseball fans have been kind of waiting, because they've been a playoff team for the last 12 seasons, and 11 of those have been division championships, Or
I said, they're going to win a lot more in the next 5 to 10 years. And if, my son who's so into it, he's like, Dad, what if Soto signs with the Dodgers?
Oh, God, don't even.
I'm like, son, I can't even think that straight, but
Jace is trying to strike fear into every other baseball fan.
Yeah, I'm like, holy crap. That's a dream addition the offseason, How much would they defer of his contract for $650 or whatever he'll get?
Well, well, that's a good point too. But I think that they're such a perfect organization for so many reasons. It's not just because they do have an owner who's willing to open the checkbook and bring guys in, but that's part of it. I think the other part of it is
also have another country that is absolutely helping with that.
Sure. There's that too. Absolutely. But they have a front office who draft and develop talent better than anyone else in baseball. Because think about this, and I think this is part of what's getting lost in the shuffle. coming into the series, you and I talked about this in our preview episode, but we both thought that the where the Yankees had an advantage was pitching, specifically starting pitching. And it, aside from most of Cole's starts, it didn't turn out that way. But for the Dodgers, you think about Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, Clayton Kershaw, Gavin Stone, all these guys who I'm probably like Tyler Glasnow, guys who, meant something to this team during the regular season, parts of the regular season. They didn't even pitch. Imagine if they have those guys, you know what I mean? And you have a guy like Walker Buehler who steps up, who hadn't been himself during the regular season, but 2
years
of
2 years of like
Absolutely.
To get to that point. So
yeah,
you look at all this fight, you look at what people don't realize of what a player goes through, his own personal journey.
Yeah.
To fight, to be healthy, to be accountable. Kershaw, no disrespect to all these guys that don't feel like, I didn't get to participate, but they still get a ring. They're instrumental, I'm sure, in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it definitely feels different when you get to play in a World Series and you get to win a World Series than when you're just watching the World Series, which is really hard to watch any game. I'll go back to even games that you go, I pitched the 8th or 9th inning and we're in extras and it's the 17th and you're like gut wrenched because you're so over one game that could be a monumental win or difference in the standings during a regular season. So, those games when you're sitting there watching the edge and just watching, Boone chewing his fingernails or, any of those players, Muncy, I think about just what a great player he is. He's a World Series champion already. Had a great series, prior to the World Series. We went over, but that's baseball. It's streaks, man. But they still needed him at third base.
Absolutely.
And he made unbelievable plays over there. So, you could sit there and say, and even, I've been to the World Series and lost. And I said, at least I went there one time in my career because it's very hard to get there.
Yeah.
And extremely difficult to win the chances. But I'd rather get there and say, even if I didn't win it all, I'd sign up for that chance.
Yeah.
Just even in life, you take these things. Would you spend that extra $100 if you knew tomorrow wasn't promised today? Like, yeah, go for it, man. Live your life. Take the chances, take the risks. And I think when you get to that stage, it's amazing to hear, some of the things that Freddie Freeman was saying. Some of these other players would probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
How about they got in the zone and what they felt and how calm they were, to get that confidence in that moment that you dreamt about. Incredible. It was absolutely incredible to watch. I got more out of watching this year's playoffs, I think, in such a long time for me, because I felt it was really special to see some of these stories and storylines that transpired throughout it. So, again, we're already missing baseball, right? It's over. I wouldn't want to turn a game 6 on.
I know, right?
It's always a feeling of like, it's over, man.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. It's always bittersweet. It's such a long season, and it always comes down, it comes down to that last game, obviously, and the second you're done, you're like, all right, well, now what the heck do I do for the next 4 months? So
take 3-4 weeks off and cheer up, man. Spring training is right around the corner.
That's right, exactly.
Right around Valentine's Day. So turkey, present, weight room.
That's right.
Plane ticket.
And we gave, obviously we talked about the Dodgers, and it's important to give them their flowers, because I think this series for me was more about what the Dodgers did right, and how great of an organization they are, and rather than what the Yankees did wrong. For me, I saw it more of what the Dodgers did right. But we have to touch on the Yankees, and I think the way that I saw it, and I'd like to ask you this question because you kind of touched on it. I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this, but do you think that, given everything that the Yankees did before the season, bringing in a Juan Soto and Marcus Stroman, and the season that Judge had, all of that, and even the season that Soto had, for that matter, does this season, even though it didn't end in a World Series championship. Is this season, do you see that as a failure?
I will say this: you got to lose one before you can win one.
Okay.
So, and look at, I'll even say it on the Dodgers side too. And I was rooting for. I know it's been a dry spell. I love to share the wealth when it comes to winning. You want to see some different teams win it. And the Yankees haven't had it since 2009. But I also am happy for the Dodgers in the sense that in 2020 they didn't get to have the parade because of COVID.
Great point.
And I know that seems like such a, like, who gives a rat's ass about that little detail? But it's no different than if you didn't see champagne and beer celebrating every victory after every round to get to the next round.
Right.
That's the ultimate celebration.
Yeah,
when
you're right.
You get to celebrate with the city that you have across your chest, and you get to give the fans their just due. You get to be admired and celebrated one more time for the effort that, and the sacrifice that you gave, which it's a lot, man. A lot of people don't realize that sacrifice that goes into, again, and who better to highlight than Freddie Freeman and what his kid was going through and the stuff that he had to deal with off the field. People don't see that. All they see is you're making all this money, you're on a winning team, you're just hitting tanks, and you get to show up every day and do this. What a life!
Right.
You get to go eat and fly in a plane, hotels, fancy cars. They see all that, but they don't see that I'm across the damn country and my son's having a sick night and my wife's home alone dealing with that.
Right.
So the celebration, I'll wrap it back to the people that are on the field. You watch all those kids in the background. I'm happy for those people that they get to celebrate. I'm happy even for the Yankees who get to go home finally and put their socks in a drawer and underwear in a drawer and just decompress. It's a lot of pressure that people don't understand. They go, you barely get, like I said, if you're not choking on the turkey leg because you got a lot of heartburn and agita from making 3 errors in an inning and losing your chance, it may be your only chance to win a World Series. It stings. I'm sure there were some grown men tears. It hurts. It hurts. Happy tears, painful tears. But I think you have to lose one to win one, right? Because then you go, frick it, I'm gonna win. That's not going to happen to us again.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I have kind of a different take on this because I'm obviously being from New York, friends with a lot of Yankees fans, have grown up with Yankees fans my whole life. My grandpa's a huge Yankees fan. It's funny. My grandpa's actually like one of the more rational and reasonable Yankees fans I know still to this day. Even even going into the series, he was kind of just like, he's like, yeah, like I'm very happy they got to the World Series, but I'm worried. Like Dodgers are really good. But I think the way I see it, because I've heard a lot of Yankees fans, and the reason I asked you that question is I've heard a lot of Yankees fans say that they believe that since they didn't win the World Series, that this season is a failure, and that every season that the Yankees don't win a World Series is a failure. And I think
that comes from the expectation of you have, right? It's a high expectation.
It is. It absolutely is. But I think the one thing I want to say is this. The Yankees have the exact same number of World Series championships, in the last, 24 years than the Chicago White Sox, the Miami Marlins, the Texas Rangers, like teams like this who have never won a World Series title. Like, I know that the like George Steinbrenner isn't there anymore. These Yankees that we knew where they were winning 4 out of 5 World Series or whatever, like these Yankees of the 90s and all of that sort of thing, like that era of Yankees doesn't exist anymore. And I think that Yankee fans, like this notion that, just because we don't win the World Series, we're the Yankees, because we don't win the World Series, it's a failure. I think that's bogus. Because it's so hard to win the World Series.
Dude, that's the stigma. But that's the stigma. That's the expectation. When you have when you've done it so much and so often. They've done it more than any organization.
But it's been so
right?
long since they've been that. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I see what you mean. It's that
absolutely. But
greatest
you know what?
organization in sports history, arguably.
But you know what they have the greatest chance to do? Keep a lot of their cast. And they can add a piece, subtract a piece here or there. But that's an organization that's gonna
great point.
Put up maybe extend Soto. Maybe say, okay, what else do we need to be competitive? Because you know what? If we get back to the World Series, we might face the Dodgers again because it looks pretty good over there for what they're doing, and they're going to trend up as well. So I think instead of crying too deeply about, oh, you know what, if you didn't make the World Series, you'd be saying the same thing again. I'm going to go back to my statement.
Yeah.
I'd rather be there and lose than not get there at all. If they didn't get there at all, they'd say it was a failure too. So it's the same statement. Yes, winning is the name of the game. Winning is the product. Winning is the goal. 29
teams lose every year. It's all
Somebody has to lose.
Yep.
Somebody has to lose.
Yep.
Just like anything that's going on, I don't even bring up on what else is on TV. Frankly, no one's going to mention anything like that. But
sure. Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just you got to feel some pain to experience the euphoria.
Yeah.
That goes through it, and like I said, there's all different levels of it, man. You don't think Freddie Freeman wanted to be 100%? You don't think that name anybody that was dealing with a nick, bruise, or scratch? Or
the Dodgers dealt with more injuries than anybody this season, almost. And I mean, maybe aside from like the Braves or something like that in terms of injuries to their star players. But yeah, I mean,
but like you said, they could draw from a huge,
well of organizational
talent.
Absolutely.
And, there's tons there. So just to see what they have. And the flamethrowers that they had coming out of the bullpen, you'd like to see more disparity and even keel because, who's to say that with competitive balance, people aren't going to spend more money?
It's true.
If anything, the Dodgers are going to continue to spend money.
Absolutely,
because they're just watching the whole thing with how they incorporated what was going on in Japan and pulling that whole country in Ohtani's jersey's going to be number one seller with his name, image, and likeness over there. Continuing, I mean that man's pockets are going to be fat. So are the Dodgers going to benefit from that, from all the ads and sponsorships and deals that go on with that. They are going to have a bigger purse to kind of come out of and spend. So kudos to them from the business side. Why wouldn't they be there more times than not? Can they be beat? Sure. That's why you play it out.
Yeah.
That's why you play it out.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about, because I want to ask you specifically. Obviously, we kind of went bigger picture here, but just kind of getting into the nitty gritty, because there's a couple different things. I mean, we could talk about it just in last night alone, because I went through like so many different ranges of emotions in the past 2 nights watching these games. I legitimately thought after Game 4, it's not a secret. He kind of admitted to it. When Dave Roberts punted that fourth game, I was like, geez, like punting a World Series game when you have to face Cole the next day. Like I had my own thoughts about that. But where do you think, what was the turning point in this series? And it's a hard question because I almost think there were multiple turning points. And I think there probably were. But can you pinpoint one moment? Maybe it was a Yankees mistake. Maybe it was a Dodgers point of success. Well, what do you think? Was there a turning point for you that was kind of like, all right, this
one
was...
thing that didn't make any sense was bringing in somebody that hasn't seen the mound in 34 days.
Yeah.
That to me, if we didn't do our show in 34 days, if I didn't go do a routine, anybody, you take anybody in a routine, and what can you expect when you haven't touched the ball?
Yep. Spot on.
I just think that and again, I was sick because I know that feeling of what that must feel like, walking off the field with just that gut punch, like I told you. But it's to know it's not even his fault. Like I'd be like, okay, you want me in there? Yeah, do I want to be in there? But on the same sense, I'm like, I can't believe I haven't studied for this test, and I'm going into the biggest moment of my career to date. So, yeah, I think that was just kind of like like what the, what was that?
What were we thinking there?
Was that panic button hit right then and there? And I don't know who made that final decision, but it was one that I questioned.
You know what? I am absolutely. I mean, I'm 100% in agreement with you. I'm not even going to like give a different answer just for the sake of argument, but that because that's 100% where I think this series turned. I think you're absolutely right. It's not only you have a guy, and I think it's funny because sometimes you can look at the numbers, and we talk about this, the iPad managing, and how that's a part of the game. But even if you look at the numbers, like not only you bringing in Nestor, who hasn't pitched in 30 plus days, to face Ohtani, you get Ohtani out. Okay, great. But then you intentionally walk Mookie Betts to pitch to Freeman. And obviously, for those who don't know, we're talking about game one when Freeman hit the walk-off. Mookie Betts was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts in his career against Nestor Cortez. Freddie Freeman had a 600 plus batting average with the bases loaded in his career against left-handed pitching. So even if you look at the numbers, it didn't make much sense. Obviously, I don't exactly know what Freddie Freeman's numbers were against Nestor Cortez or if he had any, but it didn't. That move made no sense. And obviously, Freeman still had to hit the home run, but he also threw him a fastball right down the middle.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And Nestor Cortez isn't a guy that throws 103. Right? You're bringing in a guy, and again, not to hang on velocity, but 93, I think maybe he's throwing 93, 94, maybe.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a pitch that, again, I always say, as a reliever, you got to get beat away, or even as a starter. I just think when you got to make a pitch, I'm going to make a guy hit oppo field. And again, Freddie Freeman, his whole batting practice routine is about just going the other way. But you know what? If you do something and you feel like I'm going to get beat down and into a lefty where you go, I'm looking to pull 93, that's almost BP speed now instead of 103.
You're absolutely
Different
right.
reaction for guys. They've become so custom. I'm so like, wow, but I'm still wowed by that. Because we used to look at guys that threw 97, 98 going like, oh my God.
Yeah, right.
Now we got guys throwing 5-6 miles an hour harder. I just feel like, one, maybe the wrong person for the spot. Get some guys some confidence. That's always going to create some success. And two, I don't blame him. It's not like he was trying to miss a spot. It obviously wasn't the right one.
Right.
Freddie teed off on someone. He was looking for that pitch, and he got it, and he did what he was supposed to do with it. So, again, tip your cap. Think it was the wrong move. Just my opinion. You know, we all got him. And I think that was kind of like a "oh shit" moment, you know, for like
I agree with you
to have that. But how cool for Freddie! I mean, they did a lot of backstory on the guy and his dad, and how he gave the spotlight to his old man. Man, that would, to me, father-son Field of Dreams.
That was.
There's a lot of happy
beautiful
tears. I hope, because I know I have a lot of my own dad, and if you have your dad's still around, you want those moments. But God bless that was better than baseball. That was good as baseball. The one thing you want a turning point. Wait, let me track my answer.
Yeah.
What are we doing rapping before the game? Can we please with this? Like, what are we doing?
Fat Joe and Ice Cube.
What are we doing? Ice Cube. Like, we got a war competition.
Well, for the record, though,
over.
Ice Cube, Fat Joe, right? We know that.
You.
So we just so.
Yeah, Fat Joe, and I don't even know.
Get off the mound, Fat Joe.
Please, can we just?
I'm picturing, as that whole thing was happening, I was picturing the groundskeepers like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Well, again,
and then he spikes the mic into the ground. It's like,
somebody thought that was a brilliant idea. I don't know. Do we have a poll on that?
You don't need
that
one.
Was a run. forget Cortez. That took the low. Like if there's a low of just anything, that
It
was
really,
to me like
it's actually
it
a good point.
cheapens. That cheapened. I was like,
Yeah.
can we do this like when you win, not before the game? He's talking about. I don't even know. I couldn't understand.
He's not Jose Iglesias. It's not It's not no OMG. Sorry about it, but yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah, that was that wasn't it for me. Was not it. No offense.
No, well, I'm glad you brought up Freddie Freeman because it's a good segue to it. To close out, I wanted to ask you, and I think this is a good question too, and I think it would be interesting to hear your insight on this as well. But obviously Freddie Freeman, it was about as obvious of a World Series MVP as there's ever been. But who in your mind was maybe the unsung hero of this World Series? Was there a guy that you watched where you were like, you know what, like maybe he might not get the appreciation he deserved, but goddamn, was he important to this World Series win for the Dodgers?
I can't say one. I just feel like just watching the table setters, just the Dodgers lineup, the whole bottom of that order, to me, it was like there was no let up for pitchers.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Ohtani 1, Betts 2, Freeman 3. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, that's a lot. I don't care. Even Garrett Cole, great stuff, great pitcher. I want him on the mound for me. And I'm sitting there just going like, there's no let up. And you got Muncy, like you said, even though he was an 0 for threat. Mm-hmm. You got Kiki Hernandez, was an MVP, World Series MVP, loves the spotlight, right? You can go on and on. You could go on and on about that whole from top to bottom, but the bottom of the order set the table for the superstars.
Yeah.
So unsung heroes.
Love that. Bottom of the Dodgers
sit there
order.
And say, and they're happy to wear that ring, and they're happy for Freeman and whoever. You just go, I got a ring, whether I was the man or I wasn't the man. And those guys all said, if it wasn't even Freddie, who was the man of the hour, said if it wasn't for the love, and they kept saying it. It's the one thing I will always say is that when you get to that point, and they were at that point, they all had love for one another and appreciation. I got to plug this in because I don't want to lose the show.
Yeah, while you do that, I'll give my answer, but I agree with you 100%.
Right? Do you agree?
Yes, it's 100% true, and I think it's that's even an answer.
I can't pick one.
And I think that what you said, like the love that team had for each other, you kept hearing them say that in during the post game interviews and everything, and I think when you ask the question as to why were the Dodgers able to overcome everything they overcame this year and ultimately win a championship, that's the reason. But to give my unsung hero, it's funny. He's not an unsung hero, but I think it's the things that he did that essentially went unsung, I guess. Mookie Betts does that guy on a baseball field, even when he's not lighting up the box score, even when he's not, I mean, he made diving plays and things like that, but he will make unbelievably difficult plays look routine. One of the examples, a ball that
he's smooth.
The ball that he played off the wall. I can't remember if it was Game 4 or Game 5. I'm completely blanking. There were so many examples of not only his defense out there in right field, but his, and the sacrifice fly driving the run in, which ultimately was the game-winning run. You could tell he was not going, he was going up to, right after he made contact with the ball, he's pumping his fist. He went up there trying to do one job, and that was a sacrifice fly.
You will do whatever it took.
The word sacrifice is so important when it comes to Mookie Betts and the whole Dodgers team, because, they're, and I think that it was to kind of put a bow on this matchup before we leave here. But it's I think everything that the Yankees kind of lacked in this series was everything that the Dodgers did the best out of any team. And they don't make mental mistakes. They don't make errors in the field that are costly like that. They do.
Well, they knew their job. They knew what was asked of them.
Yes, exactly. Timely, clutch hitting. And it doesn't have to be a home run. It's a sacrifice fly. It's putting the ball in play when you need to. It's putting pressure on the defense. And it's like Mookie Betts running out that ground ball where Cole didn't cover first and Rizzo didn't make the flip. Like, if he's not running 100%, Rizzo probably has time to jog over there and potentially get that out. I mean, it's just, I guess I kind of went like you did, where it's the whole team.
No,
but
man,
it's like he sets the standard because he's the superstar in that sense. But yeah, it's incredible to watch that.
And I'd love to see the clubhouse, the plane, how they interact. It's like, you know, because that's the part I miss the most, right?
Yeah, of course.
All that stuff, like laughing and who does all the, you know, I heard Rizzo, and, you know, we hear it through all the on-field people who get on some of the inside dirt of things, like Jeff Rizzo gave Jeff Rizzo. Frank Rizzo over there. I got a friend, Jeff Rizzo.
Just throwing all the Italian names together. Oh,
man, forget it, dude. You know, you do this, stare into the light like a bug. You start zapping out yourself. It's been a long season, right?
It has.
No, but when they say, you know, Rizzo was giving a speech before the game and doing his thing, because he's had some World Series experience.
Of course.
He's taken some of what he did with the Cubs, you know, or just looking at, you know, a guy like, you know, Edman.
Tommy Edman, absolutely.
You know, just the stuff that they do, the little things, to make everybody else better. Like, if you were willing to sacrifice yourself for the betterment of your team, that's the game. Yep. That's the game. You can't hit a 3-run home run with nobody on base.
Absolutely.
And some people try to do that because you want that glory moment. And hey, listen, we all want to celebrate. We all want to dance. We all want to party. We all want to have that highlight reel or that picture frame or on your baseball card of a moment that you go, it captured. But again, at the end of the day, when you're looking down at your hand going like, this is a hood ornament. And I can only imagine what this thing does, because wasn't it the Braves that had, you know, laser light show in theirs?
I think so. Yeah, you might be right.
There's some crazy stuff, though. Who knows what we'll see come
it's going to be, you know, it's going to be big. LA, baby. Oh. Yeah. And they got the parade tomorrow, so that'll be an awesome thing to see as well.
Does Ohtani's interpreter get one?
That's a great question.
That's just a sidebar.
I was thinking the same question. We'll let our viewers. How about leave us a comment? Let us know. You think Ippei's getting one shipped to him wherever he is?
He's getting a B ring. He's maybe getting a B ring.
One of the replicas.
The A ring.
That's right.
Yeah, the replicas. Thanks for the phone, guy.
Man. That's right. Well, thank you guys for tuning into this episode. We hope you enjoyed not only this episode, but our season of coverage. We're already excited for next year.
Till next time.
That's right. That's right. But we'll have plenty for you in the off season. Let us know what you want to hear from us if there's anything. And you can find this podcast if you enjoyed it. Take a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. Share it with your friends. Let us know what you think. And we look forward to catching up with you guys soon. It's off season time.
It's already happening, dude. They're already making trades and transactions.
That's right.
It's time for the credits, though.
That's right.
2024 to wrap, dude.
That's right. On to 2025. Thank you, people.